Jane, picture a tightrope walker. On one side, you have the full force of a former president's political machine. On the other, a nation anxious about the economy, their rights, their future. Now put an entire state on that tightrope. That was Virginia last night.
And the whole country was watching to see which way it would lean. Because, Joe, Virginia is never just about Virginia. It's a bellwether. It's the first real electoral test after a presidential election, and it tells us where the political winds are blowing.
And last night, those winds blew in a historic direction. The Associated Press, CBS, and others called it. Democrat Abigail Spanberger has defeated Republican Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earle-Sears to become the next governor of Virginia.
Let's just let that sink in for a moment. For the first time in its 400-year history, the Commonwealth of Virginia has elected a woman to its highest office. This was a history-making election no matter the outcome, as it was the first time both major party nominees were women.
So let's break down the facts of this victory. Spanberger, a former CIA officer and U.S. representative, flipped the governor's mansion back to blue, succeeding the term-limited Republican Glenn Youngkin. The race was seen by many political analysts as a referendum on President Trump's second term, and this gives Democrats a major shot in the arm heading into the 2026 midterms.
It really does. And the how here is just as important as the what. Early exit polls show the economy was the top issue for a huge chunk of voters, around 39% according to one poll. Spanberger hammered on affordability, on lowering costs for families, and on protecting the massive federal workforce in Northern Virginia from threatened cuts. That message clearly resonated.
It's a fascinating contrast in strategies, isn't it? While Spanberger was talking kitchen table economics, the Earle-Sears campaign focused heavily on culture war issues, particularly policies related to transgender people. It was a gamble to see if the Glenn Youngkin playbook from 2021 still had legs.
And it seems like it didn't, at least not this time. But the real human story here, for me, is Spanberger herself. This is a politician who has built a career on walking that fine line. She's a moderate Democrat who used to represent a swing district in Congress. She's ex-CIA, which gives her national security credentials that are hard to argue with.
Right. She's not a firebrand progressive, and that was her strength in a state as politically diverse as Virginia. She talked about codifying abortion rights, but also about fiscal responsibility. She courted labor unions, but also made it clear she wouldn't support a full repeal of the state's right-to-work law.
Exactly. She built a coalition. The data shows she performed better with key groups than the Democratic candidate did back in 2021. She increased her lead with women, with Black voters, and with younger voters under 30. She even managed to peel off about 13% of voters who approve of the outgoing Republican governor, Glenn Youngkin.
And that right there is the deep analysis. What does this tell us about the path forward for both parties? For Democrats, the lesson seems to be that a pragmatic, substantive candidate focused on economic well-being can win in a purple state, even in a tough national environment. You don't have to choose between the base and the center.
And for Republicans, this has to be a moment of serious reflection. Earle-Sears is a compelling figure, an immigrant from Jamaica, a Marine veteran. But her campaign got bogged down in divisive social issues, while voters were worried about their grocery bills. And notably, while Trump held a tele-rally for the GOP ticket, he didn't even endorse her or mention her by name. What does that say about his influence on a swing state race?
That's the million-dollar question. It suggests that his brand might be more of a liability than an asset in these crucial suburban districts, particularly in Northern Virginia, which saw a strong turnout. The Trump presidency hangs over everything, but this result shows that local issues and candidate quality still matter profoundly. Spanberger successfully made the race a choice between her vision for Virginia's economy and what she framed as extremism.
She essentially dared voters to look at their wallets and then look at the political chaos and ask which one they wanted their next governor focused on. It was a disciplined, effective strategy. She talked about expanding healthcare access, protecting veterans' benefits, and investing in education.
So where do we go from here? We have a historic new governor-elect in a state that is a microcosm of America, a state grappling with its past and charting its future. This election wasn't a landslide, but it was a decisive choice.
I think it's a reminder that elections are won on the ground by talking to voters about the things that keep them up at night. For all the national noise, politics is still personal. Abigail Spanberger understood that. She understood the anxieties of the federal worker in Fairfax and the small business owner in Henrico. And in the end, that connection is what broke the highest glass ceiling in the Old Dominion.
This podcast combines verified reports with expert analysis and narrative storytelling. Some dialogues may be dramatized for clarity, but all facts are sourced from credible media.